Section 2.3 is still going to be on solving linear equations. So I just want to go back over with you the rules that we talked about in 2.1 and 2.2. And these rules or steps can be used for any linear equation. So I kind of just have these next to me while I'm working out the homework problems. And then hopefully you'll follow along and get the hang. But the first one is to remove fractions, and in this section I'm going to show you how to do that. It says by multiplying by a common denominator. So it just makes it easier if you're solving a problem if you can get rid of the fractions. And then step 2 is clear the parentheses, and so that deals with using the distributive property that we talked about earlier. And then step 3 says simplify each side of the equation, and that's going to be combining like terms. And then number 4, move all your variables to one side, all the numbers to the other side. And then step 5, divide by the coefficient of the variable if it is not a 1. So even if it's just a negative sign, remember that means an understood -1 that you have to divide by. And then number 6, you can always check your solutions if you want to, but you're not required to do that. Alright, the next handout that you should have printed should look like this. It's going to actually just say introductory algebra at the top, but there are 12 problems, so if you can get that sheet out with you, those are the problems that I'm going to work out on this video. So I've just written them out on a sheet of paper, and we're going to start with number 1. It says 5/2 x minus 1 equals 3/2 x minus 4. Okay, so remember step 1 is telling us to remove all of the fractions. And so what I have to do is look at the terms that actually have fractions in them. Okay, well this one, 5/2 and 3/2, they have the same denominator. Okay, so I would choose that number 2. That's my common denominator, and every term in this problem will be multiplied by that. So I would say 2 times 5/2x minus 2 times 1 equals 2 times 3/2x minus 2 times 4. Okay, so look what I did. Every term gets multiplied by the same number, okay, even the terms that do not have fractions. Okay, so now why do we do that? Because here, when I say 2 times 5/2, this is an understood 1 under the 2, and so I want to choose a number here that my denominator is going to divide into. So if I divide, 2 will go into 2 one time. So what's left over? 1 times 5 times x, which is just 5x, and then it would be over 1. And so if it's over 1, we don't need to write that. We can just leave it off. So it's just 5x. Multiply here would be minus 2 equals, and then the same thing's going to happen here. This is an understood 2/1. I want to divide out the denominator. 2 into 2 will go one time. 1 times 3 times x just gives me 3x. And then bring down -2 times 4 is a -8. Okay, so that just looks a whole lot better than a problem that has all the fractions in it. These are just like what we've been doing in the other 2 sections. So step 2 would say clear parentheses. Well, we don't have any. Step 3 would say simplify each side. Well, we don't have any like terms that are on the same side of the equal sign. So we're to step 4. Move all the variables to one side. So I already have a 5x. I'm going to move the 3x over. So to move it over, I have to subtract it. We already have a -8. I want to move the numbers 2 over to this right side. So if it's a negative, when I move it over, it's going to be a positive. So 5x minus 3x would be 2x, equals negative 8 plus 2 would be negative 6. Then step 5, divide by the coefficient of the variable. So divide by 2, divide by 2, 2's divide out, x is equal to negative 3. And so my solution would be negative 3. Okay, let's go ahead and look at number 2. We have 1/3 plus 1/7 x equals negative 8 23rds. Okay, so here every term has a fraction and the denominators are all different. So we have to find a number that 3 and 7 and 21 will all divide into. Okay, well, if I think about what is 3 times 7, well, it is 21. So, and 21 would go into itself, so we could use 21 as the common denominator. Okay, so remember it's 21 times every term in the problem. So I've just rewritten the problem with 21 times each term. And you know, we say multiply, but we're actually going to be dividing the denominator into this number every time. So when I divide, 3 will go into 21 7 times. So what would be left over? 7 times 1, which is 7. And then 7 into 21 will go 3 times. 3 times 1 times x is going to be a positive x, or positive 3x, because of this positive sign. So plus 3x equals 21 will go into 21 one time. 1 times negative 8 is negative 8. And so again, that just looks a lot easier to work with than if you had the fractions in the problem. So we only have one variable term. We're going to keep 3x. Bring down negative 8. I want to move the 7 over to be on the same side with negative 8. It's a positive here. When I move it over, it's going to be negative. So I would have 3x is equal to negative 15. Remember, add and keep your sign. And then divide by the number in front of your variable. So when I divide by 3, this will be 1x is equal to negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. So my solution would be x is equal to negative 5.